At the funeral, the dog just kept barking at his owner's coffin. One attendee whispered, "Maybe we should open it and see what's wrong." And so, with a mix of curiosity and dread, they did. And what they found inside made their blood run cold. Officer Dalziel Flynn's funeral day was somber under the drizzle as mourners streamed into the cemetery. His family, unseen for nearly half a decade, flew from Houston to California that morning and stood solemnly by the casket. Fellow officers, donned in their uniforms, marched in, accompanied by Roy, the lone exception, who trotted faithfully by their side. Roy, Dalziel's loyal canine partner, felt the weight of his loss profoundly. Despite a rocky start, their bond had grown unbreakable over months, and now the dog grieved the untimely demise of his comrade during a warehouse heist. The officers joined the mourners by the casket, granting the devoted dog a place at their feet. At first, there was a heavy silence, punctuated only by the soft weeping of Dalziel's family. But as Roy rose to his feet and approached the casket, a shift rippled through the air. The dog nosed around the edges, emitting a low growl. Then, with a sudden bark that startled the gathering, Roy drew attention. Officers scrambled to restrain him, but he persisted, straining against his leash towards the grave. Many assumed it was grief overwhelming the faithful companion. Little did they know, a startling revelation awaited them. Dalziel Flynn, who had joined the force in 2010, had always harbored a passion for dogs. Even after the loss of his beloved companion 2 years prior, he remained devoted. And now, as Roy's behavior hinted, there was more to their bond than met the eye. Roy, a seasoned 3-year veteran of the K9 unit, recently experienced the unexpected loss of his partner. Normally, dogs in Roy's situation would be put up for adoption through a partnership program with local animal shelters. However, Roy was cautious around unfamiliar faces, making it tough for him to find a new home. The best option for Roy was to establish a new partnership. Despite being paired with several officers over the past year, Roy couldn't seem to form a strong bond with any of them, earning him the reputation of being a challenging placement. For dogs who failed to bond with partners, their service duties were usually revoked, and for Roy, time was running out. Until Dalziel was assigned as his partner, he had been warned that earning the dog's trust would not be easy, but he remained hopeful. On the day of meeting his new partner, Dalziel brought a treat and a soft dog mat in the trunk of the patrol car. He eagerly awaited in the police station parking lot when Roy was brought in by another officer. As soon as the dog appeared, Dalziel could no longer wait. He extended his hand to the dog as instructed. Roy sniffed the officer curiously, barked, and lay down when the leash was handed over. The newly united partners were suddenly left alone in the empty parking lot, and the man quietly whistled as he headed to the car. Roy followed him, climbing into the seat opposite the mat. Despite his frown, Dalziel took the driver's seat, holding on to the hope that the dog would eventually place its trust in him as it had done with its previous owner. The first week breezed by in a small town where major incidents were uncommon, leaving them with routine calls. Their partnership flourished, yet Dalziel couldn't shake off the sadness of Roy's apparent lack of connection with him. Unlike other police dogs, Roy returned to the station's kennel after their shifts, not accompanying Dalziel home. Dalziel spared no effort in making his bachelor pad a haven for his new furry friend. Having relocated to this area post-college and living solo since his family remained in their home state, he transformed his apartment into a cozy retreat, complete with a snug blanket and a warm mat tucked in a corner alongside toys and treats, eagerly awaiting Roy's arrival. All set for the dog's arrival, but as time ticked by, there was no change. It appeared the dog wouldn't be ready to head home with his handler anytime soon. About 2 months later, everything shifted gears. A distress call came in concerning a young woman, Kara, who had ventured out for a hike and hadn't returned. Despite search efforts, she remained elusive, out of reach, even by phone. Dalziel and Roy swiftly embarked on the search. Roy, the ace of the search and rescue team, carried the hope of finding the missing girl. Upon arrival, rescuers handed over a piece of Kara's attire provided by her folks. Roy gave it a thorough sniff, surveyed the enclosed area, then let out a bark before darting off in the opposite direction. Perplexed, the team pondered Kara's diversion from her usual route, opting for a trail on the opposite end of the woods. Dalziel trailed behind Roy, releasing the leash from his grip. Roy sprinted ahead, soon disappearing from Dalziel's sight as he raced along the trail. Shortly after, a cacophony of loud barks resonated through the woods. Dalziel and the rescuers sprang into action, hurrying to the scene. Upon arrival, astonishment gripped everyone. Recent storms had wreaked havoc on the area, causing a section of the trail to collapse into a deep ravine. Kara had managed to ascend partially before losing consciousness. Roy persisted in barking until his handler intervened with a command. The faithful dog obediently laid down, but alas, the soil, still unsettled from the recent landslide, began to give way beneath Dalziel's weight. Anxiety rippled through the group as Roy struggled to maintain his footing on the shifting ground, whimpering in distress. Acting swiftly, the officer seized Roy by the collar, yanking him to safety. With meticulous care, rescue teams extracted Kara, and both officers underwent medical assessment. Thankfully, all was well with the rescued girl, who expressed profound gratitude. As their shift drew to a close, Dalziel, overcome with emotion, could no longer contain his tears as he opened the car door. For the first time in 2 months, the dog jumped onto the car's mat, its tail wagging as the man petted it. It appeared he had finally gained the trust of his new companion. That evening, instead of spending the night in a kennel at the station, Roy went home with Dalziel, marking the first time since losing his previous owner. Over the next year, Roy and Dalziel continued to strengthen their bond, and 15 months into their partnership, it seemed they were inseparable. All the other officers who had attempted to partner with the dog were delighted to see their unique friendship. Everything was smooth sailing until a late May evening in 2010. Over the previous months, there had been a string of robberies targeting warehouses with lax security. Initially, the group simply pilfered goods from the warehouse area. One evening, a gunshot echoed outside the warehouse, signaling danger. The police promptly upgraded the robbers' status to notorious criminals, prioritizing their capture. In response, Roy and Dalziel joined forces with Otis, a recent addition to the station. Due to staffing shortages, management allowed Otis to assist in investigating the warehouse thefts under the guidance of a seasoned officer. That very night, they surveilled a newly opened warehouse on the outskirts of town. With the robbers growing bolder and the warehouse lacking security measures due to financial constraints, it became a lucrative target. Assigned to stakeout duty, Dalziel, Otis and Roy waited in an inconspicuous car, vigilant for any suspicious activity. As the hours dragged on, just as they were considering departure, Roy's low growl alerted them to a lurking figure along the warehouse wall. Dalziel signaled Otis, and the trio moved stealthily towards the building. Drawing nearer stealthily, Otis opted for the left path around the structure, while Roy and Dalziel veered right. In short order after the split, the dog let out a low growl once more, catching Officer Flynn's attention. He glanced up, spotting 3 figures clad in black hoodies attempting to pry open the warehouse's rear entrance. With caution, he unholstered his firearm, commanding the group to halt and raise their hands. The criminals froze, everything proceeding as planned, until Otis suddenly let out a piercing scream, gunfire erupting in the stillness. Unbeknownst to Otis, one of the assailants had stealthily crept up behind him while he advanced alone. As the newcomer rounded the corner to join his cohorts, the assailant unleashed a barrage of bullets. The situation rapidly deteriorated, Dalziel managing only a split second to transmit a distress call over the radio before a figure charged toward him. By the time backup arrived, the gang had vanished, leaving Roy trapped inside the warehouse and both officers injured. Rushed for medical evaluation, although their wounds weren't grave, the hospital delivered the tragic news that Officer Flynn succumbed to his injuries. Otis, the other cop who was there, was in a coma. The family came on the day of the funeral, and Roy, taken care of by another cop, was brought to bid farewell to his buddy. The funeral was peaceful until Roy started barking at the casket. Despite attempts to soothe him, Roy kept barking, upsetting the family even more. The dog's unwavering loyalty shattered their hearts. Even Roy's new partner couldn't calm him down. When Roy broke free and rushed back to the coffin, his partner collapsed. The barking intensified as Roy reached the coffin. Everyone was at a loss until a senior officer, amidst the barking, suggested opening the coffin, noting it might calm Roy down as he had seen similar behavior in canine dogs. The family was opposed to it. No one had laid eyes on the man's body. Because of the long journey and the late hour of arrival, they opted for a private ceremony. Roy's mournful cries pierced the air, prompting the fallen officer's mother to relent and open the casket to spare the loyal dog further agony. As the lid was raised by a representative from the funeral home, the officer's mother let out a horrified scream. The body inside was not Dalziel Flynn's, leaving everyone in shock as she rose to demand answers about her son's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Roy, having finally settled down, lay beside the grave, seemingly aware from the start that the coffin did not contain his partner. With the truth exposed, he appeared content to remain by the graveside. The mother exploded with anger, bringing the funeral proceedings to a grinding halt. Calls were made to the police station and doctors, everyone demanding answers to the bewildering mix-up. How could Officer Flynn be pronounced dead, only to find someone else's body in his casket? Mourners scattered hastily, flocking to the police station, accompanied by Roy and fellow officers. An inquiry was swiftly launched to unravel the mystery. The hospital had mistakenly identified the deceased as Officer Dalziel Flynn, but the exact chain of events remained elusive. The police chief, along with the distraught family and Roy with his new partner, descended upon the hospital, craving explanations. As they waited, the doctor overseeing the case descended to the storage area for personal effects of the deceased. Among the neatly labeled bags containing belongings of both officers, including the one still comatose, confusion lingered. These items had been confiscated upon their arrival, amidst the chaos of that tumultuous night. Perhaps their wallets' IDs hadn't undergone proper scrutiny. The doctor, eager to explore all angles, emptied the bags onto the table. A dreadful realization dawned upon him. The hospital had erred gravely. Amidst the chaos of the night, nobody had bothered to verify the identities in the wallets. Among the possessions labeled for the comatose man lay Officer Otis Collins's ID, starkly mismatched with the patient upstairs. With trembling hands, the doctor swiftly inspected the deceased's belongings, discovering Officer Dalziel Flynn's wallet. Hastily, he alerted the hospital director. It was now glaringly evident. A grave error had been committed in identifying the bodies. Promptly, they convened in the director's office, where, after extensive dialogue and profuse apologies, the tale of this regrettable misunderstanding unfolded. On the night of the warehouse incident, 2 men were rushed from the scene to the hospital. Sadly, one succumbed to his injuries during surgery. The other officer, who bravely resisted the robbers, was placed in a medically induced coma to aid his recovery. His face was heavily bandaged, concealing severe wounds. Neither at the hospital nor at the scene did anyone bother to check the IDs in the men's wallets. Dalziel's family was far away at the time, unable to identify the deceased. Consequently, the hospital presumed the initial identification to be accurate. Compounded by a shortage of staff at the police station, they simply relied on the hospital's information and arranged the funeral accordingly. The families of both officers received notifications. Otis's family was scheduled to arrive the following day, following Dalziel's funeral. Dalziel's partner was the sole individual to grasp the grave mistake. Without Roy's insistence on opening the coffin, the error would have persisted until another person was interred in Dalziel's plot. Despite the family's fury, the police station and hospital issued numerous apologies, leading to an agreement. Subsequently, the funerals were redone, this time honoring Officer Otis Collins. The proceedings proceeded smoothly, and a month post the warehouse incident, Dalziel, previously comatose under the guise of Otis, regained consciousness. He was devastated upon learning of the ordeal Otis's family endured and conveyed his condolences to the fallen colleague's relatives. It took Dalziel an extra month to completely heal from his injuries, and Roy stood steadfastly by his side throughout. 12 months later, despite the harrowing encounter with the warehouse thieves, Dalziel successfully cleared a requalification test, ready to resume his duties alongside fellow officers. His performance was outstanding, and he reunited with his loyal companion, Roy. They remain partners to this day. Their bond, formed through tough times, illustrates the deep connection that can develop between a K9 team and their handler. It shows how vital these dogs are, not just in law enforcement, but also in their partner's emotional well-being. Roy's unwavering determination at the funeral wasn't just loyalty, but a crucial action that rectified a serious mistake. It revealed the profound understanding and intuition these animals possess, often overlooked. Dalziel and Roy's tale reminds us of life's unpredictability and the need for meticulousness, especially in roles like law enforcement and healthcare. Their narrative continues to motivate their department and the community, underscoring the essential bond and mutual respect between an officer and their K9 companion. If you're enjoying it as well, leave a like and subscribe to the channel.